Tutorial video for hosts that might be hosting Zoom meetings. The purpose of this tutorial is for some requests that I got from my fellow choral brothers and sisters, so some other choral directors that wanted to create virtual rehearsals, but of course send this to anyone that you know who might want to be interested in hosting their Zoom groups. Now, just one thing to note, you do need to have a paid Zoom account in order to have access to the features that I'm going to show you today. The free plan is pretty limited and only allows you to have 40 minutes, so you are going to need to have at least the very next one, which I think is, let's look here, this Pro. Pro is great. You really don't need business or enterprise for anything that I'm showing you. I'm inside of zoom.us on my website, or on my browser rather, and just wanted to show you some of the things that are here that you can use to set up your meeting in advance. So in order to see some of the things I'm going to show you once we're on Zoom, you have to have them be on or toggle them on in your meeting settings. So I don't want to go through too many details because otherwise this will be a really long video, and I've made some other tutorials that show some of the basics of Zoom, and some of those apply to the host, but I'm going to show you some things that only the host would have access to that participants would not. Okay, so here's where you can schedule a meeting. I would recommend scheduling a meeting so that you have a private link for that meeting. Otherwise, let's see if it's just going to show my otherwise, everyone has a personal meeting ID. You can always give this link to have someone join a meeting right away. But for a regularly scheduled group, you're going to want to schedule a meeting. And to do that, you just do that here. You can also do that if you have downloaded Zoom to your computer. I'm on a Mac here, but hopefully it won't look too different for you. You can also schedule and have the same access to all the same things through your downloaded application. And here is like settings, which will give you access to all the same things that you would see back here. But I would just go through each of these things. A lot of them are self-explanatory, and this is where you can test your mic and your speaker, and all the stuff that you need to know. Any special things that you want to have access to, just go and peruse through this. I'm not going to go through each one because I do think it's, like I said, pretty user-friendly. For now, I'm just going to show you, oops, come back here. I don't know how I got that. So I'm at schedule meeting. And you would put your topic, your description, what day, time, and time zone. You can have it be a recurring meeting, so you can have it recur every week for a month. I would not have people register or require a password. Usually you're not going to need that, and I think it just creates too many hoops for someone to go through. And then they have all these default settings that generally I would not recommend changing. So have everyone's video on, access to both things with audio. Now here's some things with meeting options you might want to consider. I do allow my participants to join before I join, so just in case I'm running a few minutes late, it's not holding up anyone. I also do mute the participants upon entry. There is a way to mute everyone once you are in Zoom, but this is just a nice way to make sure that there's no feedback, audio feedback or anything like that. Enabling waiting room, I'm not entirely sure how that's much different from this. It might be a little bit fancier, but I wouldn't worry about it. And then the breakout room pre-assign is a little bit more advanced, but if you're willing to try it out, you can do this. You would have to import a CSV, and the people that are joining the Zoom meeting would have to have a Zoom account themselves, but they don't need to have a paid Zoom account. It should just be a free account, should be okay. I'm still working out some of the kinks on this because it didn't work exactly the way that I wanted it to, so unfortunately I can't speak more to it. And breakout rooms I'm going to show you in a minute once we're in Zoom. It's kind of cool. So for example, if you are part of a chorus and you want to separate people into their sections, baritone, tenor, etc., you can pre-assign them into those rooms, break them out into their own little virtual rooms, and they can do a little practice on their own and then come back to the main room. And so you can import that. Let's see, recording the meeting. I record my meetings because some people may not be able to attend, so I would record the meeting automatically. That way you don't have to worry about remembering that. If you want to have any additional hosts, for example, maybe you're not the director, but you want your director to be a host, or anyone else And what that means is they're going to have all the same access to host features that you would. So you would go ahead and put their email in here in advance, and you would save that, and you would have the meeting. I'll show you what one of my meetings here looks like. Let's see if we can find it. Oh, here it is. Okay, so this is my recurring chorus meeting. So once I've created that meeting, here's what it looks like. Here's the link that I can share with the participants. I would copy the invitation, but maybe you don't need all of this stuff here. It can be quite confusing, but maybe copy the link and also give them the phone number that they can call into with the meeting ID. Now, this doesn't really apply anymore now that most people have cell phones. So I would just pick one of these numbers and give them my meeting ID and tell people if they're having trouble with their audio to call in through their phone, and maybe they could do video on their computer. That can save a lot of grief. And then you'll see how your settings are all here, and you can change them if you'd like. Now, I did pre-assign my sectionals, so I wanted to show you what that looked like. So I created 4 rooms, and then there's people pre-assigned, so that when I go in and I break people out, it's already done. Otherwise, you're going to have to manually do it. And one way that you can do that pretty easily is ask everyone to change their name with their section. So it would be Stephanie Barry. And then you have to still manually put them into the room, but it's a lot easier than maybe if you have a really big course, you might not know where everyone is supposed to be. If you want to do a poll, you can do polls, meaning you can ask them a question and everyone can answer. So you would add the poll in the meeting. So I have one here already. It's a test poll, and I'll show you what that looks like. When you're scheduling a meeting, let's see where you would put that. You know, it's interesting. This was a little weird because it didn't give you the option to do a poll beforehand, but I do believe that once you schedule the meeting, let's see if I can see this in another meeting that I'm going to have. Yes, at the bottom, it gives you the option to add the poll there. But you do need to have the poll in the meeting beforehand in order for it to show up. So let's see, anything else? You're not going to worry about webinars. Any recordings would be here if you do record to the cloud. But you get a limited amount of space, so you probably just want to record to your computer and then upload it to a Dropbox later. And then there's a few other things in here that you can look at, profile, etc. But those are pretty basic, and I want to get to more of the nuts and bolts of actually being in the meeting first. So I'm going to go ahead and start my my rehearsal meeting so that you can see a little bit in there. Okay, so you see me double. I'm going to be muted, so don't worry about it. But you can see that the person that's joined, that's which one is it? Actually, that's a really good question. Okay, I see. So it's got the participant here in the big square. That's me from my phone, and I'm just gonna do this here. It's gonna look a little weird, but. And then, of course, you there. And just a quick reminder, you can do gallery view so that you can see everyone, including yourself, or you can do speaker view, which means that you would just see whoever is speaking. Now, let's see. Let's talk a little bit about the host features. So we've already gone over the volume and the video in the other tutorials, so go ahead and take a look at those. This is where you can access all your settings. If you need to invite anyone to your meeting, you can do that here. Managing participants. You could see all your participants here, and here's where you can mute them all or unmute them. You have a few other things that you can do here. You can, this is important, I would have this unchecked, the play, the enter, exit chime, otherwise you're gonna get that ding every time someone joins. Here's you could, if you don't wanna mute everyone on entry, you would unclick this. If your peeps are especially unruly and they're not unmuting, they're constantly unmuting yourself, we had a little bit of trouble with that, but eventually it settled down. But if, as an administrator, you think that that would just be too much to handle, then maybe don't allow people to unmute themselves. And instead, they're going to have to put in the chat box if they have a question, and you will have to manually unmute them. Now the cool thing is you can see here what they usually will put on the top. There's only a couple people in the meeting, so you can't see it. But in my experience, anyone that's not muted will show up on the top, and those that are muted will be on the bottom. So you can just go ahead and unmute them there. And I'm the host, so I can rename myself there, but you would not be able to rename someone else as far as I know. There is a feature called raising your hand that I can't show you because I had to log in and it automatically saw me as a host, so it didn't see me as a participant. But I'll include a little link to some information on raising their hand. They should see on the bottom right-hand corner or at the bottom down here, they should see something that says raise their hand. And it will show up here on the next to their name that they've raised their hand. And that's another way, if they have a question, you want to keep everyone muted, they can raise their hand and you can basically put their hand down and then unmute them. So that's a nice little feature and it's just a great way to facilitate. Let's see, so that's managing participants. We're going to close that out. And by the way, anytime you want to close something here on the right, you just click down there on that icon again. The poll, I created a test poll, so when I pull that up, I have the poll here. There's my question, and then when I launch it, everyone's going to get a pop-up window like this, and then they're going to answer. Let's see what ends up happening on my end, because I'm in there as a host, and I don't think it's going to show up on my end. Yeah, unfortunately, it's not showing up for me because I'm a co-host, but they will see it, and then you'll see the answers here, right? Yes, no, maybe. You'll see the percentages, okay? One thing that's really important for you to know, especially if you're a musician or you're doing this for your chorus, is when you share your screen, if you want to share a music not video, or it could be a music video, if you want to share a music video or an MP3, when you do this, so when I go to share my screen, so I can share my desktop, my whiteboard, I can share a lot of things here, but you want to share computer sound. That's down here. You want to share computer sound. That's going to have the highest quality of sound available. So this would be important if you're going to share a video and you want them to hear the sound as well coming from your computer. Or if you want people to just see your normal video, but you want to share just the sound, so maybe you have an MP3 that you want everyone to sing with, you would press this. And so, and then you would press share, and here we are, right? So if I went to iTunes and I played an MP3, they would hear the sound really, really well. So you want to make sure that you click that, because otherwise the sound will not be great, okay? See, chat is very similar, same as what I had shared before. You've got some additional meeting features here, but I would just check out what some of my other tutorials around chat, because it's the same. If you did not record automatically, here it is right here. So you could press record, and you also have reactions as well. I would go ahead and just host and test this out and check out some of your settings. So all the same settings are up here in my menu as they are here. But, oh, you know what? Which is such a bummer. It's not showing my breakout rooms. Let me see here. I think it's having me be, let me try something here. I'll leave the meeting. Okay. So it had me as a host on my computer, so that's why it didn't show up. But and I, even though as a co-host, I guess it didn't give me access to everything. So now that's a good thing to know. So as a co-host, you will not see the breakout rooms. Only the original host will see that. Only the original host can record unless you give that other person access to record. So you would give them access by, let's see, let me go ahead and join. So you could give them access. You would go to participants, co-host, and you can withdraw co-host permission there. Usually you should be able to see an option to give them capability to record, but you know what? It's probably not allowing you to do that because I'm recording already. But if I was not recording, you can give other people access to record, and you would do that by clicking on their name here. So the last thing I want to show you is breakout rooms. So I had those breakout rooms pre-assigned. You can see that here. When I press open all rooms, it's going to put everyone else into those rooms. And you as the host, you are going to stay in the main meeting room. While they are in those other virtual rooms, you can put a broadcast message to everyone. I'm just going to show you what it looks like here. I don't know if you can see it in the little box, but it says, hey, you've been invited to join. So as a participant, I would join that breakout room. And if I were to do a broadcast, you could ask a question. You could have them, hey, start working on this song. Hey, we're going to come back to the main room soon. They will get, I don't know if you can see here, they will get a little message on their phone or on their computer when you do that broadcast message. If you want to close all the rooms, and one thing you could do with the rooms is you can join a room if you want to check in. You can move people to different rooms. But when you go to close all the rooms, it will give people a prompt to come back to the main meeting room, or it'll automatically send them back into the main meeting room in 50 seconds or so, 60 seconds. So that's a cool little feature as well. I think that's most of what you would need to know. If you have any other specific questions, then do just reach out to me. And I hope that this helps you to have a little bit more of an understanding of some extra host features.